Welcome to another episode of the Waffle Shop podcast. Today, I'm joined by my new favorite person, singer, songwriter, all-round legend, Cian Ducrot.
Thank
Welcome
you
to the
for
Waffle
having me.
Shop.
What's up? I was actually just staring at your poster there. Like, why is it called the Waffle Shop? Is it just because we waffle? Or like, did you used to work in a waffle shop?
I wish it was the second part of that, but unfortunately, it's just because I talk a lot. There is a
Nice.
lot of disappointment in my guests when they realize they're not getting any kind of waffles. I say it quite a lot. I had Cool and the Gang on the show, and obviously them being in America, severely disappointed that they weren't getting
Severely.
it. Severely disappointed.
You know what you should do actually is you should get your team to reach out to my team, to reach back to your team, to reach back to my team. And no, what I was actually going to say is you should schedule waffles to be delivered to the person's house that you're interviewing or that you're having on the podcast,
Yes.
Is would that imagine now if like I was a beep beep, like 5 minutes before I got on this call, if there was just waffles showing up to my front door and then I was like here and I just had some waffles. Like that would be amazing. This would be nothing could top that really.
No, I feel like I feel like you're up there with the level of disappointment as Cool and the Gang. But
Yeah.
I'm going to take it as a compliment. You think that I have a team, so that's that's quite
Yeah, you should
impressive. We'll
get
take that as
you gotta always just pretend you have a team, man. You gotta be like, get my team. I used to like pretend I used to like made up a manager for myself, I'm pretty sure, and just like made a fake email and would just like email people as like a
Was
manager
it
that
you
they
I've been
need
talking to get this?
to not anymore. But yeah, I because nobody ever sees like no one is ever gonna see your manager, especially at the start of like
Yeah.
your career, like 5 years ago when I was just trying to get sessions and stuff. He'd be like, "Hey, I'm John Simon and represent amazing singer songwriter Cian Ducrot, who's just really the best. You should have him in this session today."
So I
And
wish
people,
I brought a notepad to this because I feel like already I'm literally just learning so
you're
much.
learning. It's a big lesson today. It's a big lesson.
Wow. Do you know what? I normally start each one of my shows with something called the weekly waffle. That's something that's quite frankly, it's pissed me off a little bit. But once I get it off my chest, it makes me feel better. But I feel like I'm on a bit of a positive run now.
Positive vibe. Go on,
Yeah.
hit me with your weekly waffle. I want to see what pissed you off.
Okay. Because this actually really winds me up, and I don't know why we do it. And to be fair, like you're Irish, so you might, I don't know, you might do this as well. I don't know. But it's people who call dinner tea.
Oh Jesus! Don't even get me started.
I don't
Don't even get me
understand it.
started on that. Oh,
And it also because someone from work asked me, they're like, "Oh, what's for tea?" And I was like, "Oh no, thank you. I have one coffee a day." And they looked at me as if I've literally just like insulted their nan. I was like, "What?" And they were like, "I asked what you're having for your tea." I was like, "No, I don't really drink tea." And I'm like, "No, dinner." I was like, "Oh." And then I didn't realize how much of a thing it was for the people like, "Oh, what you having for tea?"
yeah,
I don't
I
know why it's
know.
took me to this long to realize that.
It also annoys me that I've been in England long enough that now someone says like, "What's for tea?" I actually know that they're talking
You
about
understand?
dinner. That's actually like pissing me off. Like, I need to start drinking tea more so that like it registers back in my mind that tea and tea is not dinner. I would never say tea in a million years, but
It's just a thing. It's like
so annoying.
the words to Mr. Brightside. Do you ever remember sitting down learning the words to Mr. Brightside? But you
Yeah,
know
no.
them. You know
Yeah,
every single
how do
bloody
you
word.
know them? It's actually insane.
Honestly.
It's probably why it's such a successful song. I also swear, like, I never even knew Mr. Brightside until like I was in the club one night and they played it and everyone sang it and I just sang it. I was like, oh yeah, this
Yeah.
song. But I'm like, but I swear I've never heard this song. But also, I have like it's not like I had it on my phone on like Bluetooth and like when I was a kid. So like, why do we know it? I'm so
Yeah.
confused.
It's like when everyone got really angry at U2 for dropping that album on everyone's phone. Should we not be more angry at the Killers at the fact that they've planted this song in our brains,
You
not our
know,
phones?
yeah, it's insane. No one even listens to it, like ever. Like
Like I've
nobody
like
listens to
started
Mr.
beef now
Brightside.
with the Killers. Sorry,
Yeah.
Brandon. So,
Crazy. Crazy.
anyway, speaking of bangers, and I don't say bangers at MASH. I'm not talking about MASH. All
And
bangers on this show. We've got to talk about the music. Like, I first discovered you when I heard the song Crocodiles. And
wow.
yeah, it's one of those songs that I don't know why it gripped me the way it did, but it kind of got its hooks into me. I was like, oh yeah,
Because
I've
it's a
done that
masterpiece.
before. Oh, it
Because
is. It's stunning.
that's what
It was
happens
like,
when you make a masterpiece, grips people. That's why, if you're wondering, Taylor, this whole time you've been wondering, why is the song great? I have the answer for you again in today's lesson. It's a masterpiece. That's why.
it is. Do you know what? I feel like we just wrapped this episode up. We've learned so much. We've been in like 3-4 minutes, and it's just the gift that keeps on giving.
It's big, It's a big episode.
But one of the other songs that's obviously everyone kind of, I won't say knows you, because obviously there is a hell of a lot more to come, especially the song that I've just heard, which I think the goosebumps haven't quite gone down yet. But everyone knows it. Obviously, All For You. I had to look then because I literally have got like 3-4 songs like lined up ready to talk to you about. I'm like,
Yeah.
this one's a masterpiece. This one's a masterpiece. This one's a masterpiece. But it is,
Masterpieces. So we do.
it's one of the most beautiful songs I've ever heard.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's really weird because actually, this is hilarious. I got my manager actually sent me. Oh, I don't have my phone. I wish I had my phone. My manager sent me a screenshot last night for completely different purposes of the first time I sent her like a demo of All For You.
Yeah.
Um,
Wait, is this your real manager, or did you send this to
my
yourself?
real manager. I didn't just send it to myself. Cool. She was like, yeah, it could be a vibe. She's like, or something. She was like, yeah, it could be a vibe. Maybe we change the end of the chorus or something. I can't remember. Like, it was like the most just like understated. Like, we're like, could be big, could be a vibe, but we're just like, yeah, it could be like whatever. Moving on. It was like so funny, and then it was just
like the humbleness of this. I love it.
It was a big, and then it was a big
one
vibe.
of the biggest songs of the year. But yeah, just yeah, it's all right. So,
yeah, really crazy, really crazy.
What was the story behind? Obviously, I know you've probably answered this question but I like, especially when I have the guests on who have sang some of my favorite songs. I quite like to get into the nitty gritty. Like,
yeah,
what inspired it?
It was kind of like the main thing that inspires a song for me actually is like this is always the way. Like, I just have to like let it build up.
Yeah.
Like, I have to like not write, and then suddenly I'm like so creatively like frustrated that I just like get down to the piano and I just start like playing or whatever, and I just have like I have so many things inspiring a song that eventually once I get there I just have all these things that just like flood out into the song, So like All For You is really like that, where it was like a huge kind of mix of things that inspired it, and yeah, stem from different things, like stem from relationships, like past and current, stem from friendships, like different losses. I think one big thing was kind of, definitely sort of realizing that when I was in a new relationship that like I was maybe not exactly like, when you're with someone and you just give them your all, and then you're like, oh, maybe I wasn't giving my all in the last relationship, even though I thought I was, which is obviously circumstantial, like depending on what situation you are in your life. But so that was like partially like sort of it. And then there was, like, friendship things and obviously like losses that I've had and sort of questions that you never get answers for. And just wishing you'd done more. And yeah, it was like it was like a lot of stuff that I was just like processing that just kind of went into one song.
Is it weird seeing it now? Because obviously, I mean, I haven't had the pleasure of seeing you live, like as of yet, but like, is it weird kind of hearing those lyrics mean so much to everyone else and hearing them like being sung back to you?
Yeah. I want to know I want to know what people are thinking when they sing it,
Yeah.
Like not just like the chorus, but I want to know what they're thinking when they sing like the first line of the verse, like what they see or like what, like, yeah, I just want to know like what they see or feel or like what the vibe is for them when they're singing that, because that's like, it'd be cool to have a different perspective on the song than my own.
I love, to be fair though, it's one of my biggest things why I love music so much is because, I mean, especially when I have like the guests on who have sung these songs, like what I think it means when I'm like, oh yeah, and they're like, no, that's not what it's about. I was like, oh. So I always like similarly to yourself, obviously I can't sing, but like I find it so interesting how different it can be interpreted and like how much
Yeah.
it kind of it soundtracks people's, whether it's a loss, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a friendship.
Yeah.
Like it's so powerful how it
Yeah.
can do that.
Well, I think the thing that's really, I'm still learning a lot about this. It's all, I've always felt this way, but I constantly learn like new ways to think about it. And one thing that I find really interesting is that usually when I write a song, and I think most songwriters, um, you often don't write it in like the moment that you're feeling a certain way. I mean, at least myself anyway, it's very hard to write something like right in the emotion of it. It's
Yeah.
often sort of maybe a while after or in hindsight of it or um and I think what you then realize is that the people discovering your music and the people listening to your songs for the first time and really connecting to them, usually they're going through something in that moment, like
Yeah.
they are dealing with something right now. Therefore their meaning of the song is like 100 times more powerful and meaningful than your meaning of the song. And so like I feel like what I write the song about like doesn't really matter, like, because nobody cares. Like the power that the listener's meaning has is so much more important and so much more emotional and powerful um, in that moment and for
Yeah.
them, you know. And of course, they connect to it because you tell your story, which is something that they relate to, and then they don't feel alone, and they get answers for these questions they've been asking themselves for months or weeks or days or years, and then they finally are like looking and looking and they hear a song and they're like, that's the answer. Now I don't feel alone, or I don't like, I just have like somewhere comfort, some comfort. And that's powerful. That's like, that's the meaning of the song there. Like that's where it finds it's like millions of
Yeah.
meanings of different people who listen to it, you know.
Kind of finds its home in a weird kind of way,
Yeah,
doesn't it? Yeah.
exactly. Like in it, and it finds tons of different homes, and like, yeah, like it doesn't really matter what I wrote it about in the end. Like who cares, you know? It's more like, because the power in the song is not what it does for me, it's what it does
Yeah.
for other people. So I think that's like the most special thing.
No, I love that. Did so how did that start for you? Because obviously to just wake up one day like, oh, actually I can make hundreds and well, millions now people cry with my beautiful lyrics. Like, what did you how did the kind of journey start? Like, did you see someone singing, or was it hearing a piece of music or a song and be like, that's what I want to
I mean, it started a long, long, long time ago.
do?
uh, I've always wanted to be a musician, and like music's in my family. I always wanted to be an artist. And I think like I sort of discovered I discovered all aspects of it in different ways. You know, I
Yeah.
discovered that I could move people and make people cry through classical music. So I would perform like,
Yeah.
I studied classical music, and that's what I did growing up. And I I always had this, I guess, like, sounds stupid, but I guess me and my brother, you know, when we would perform, we sort of had this like gift or whatever to be able to like really move people to tears. And I think it was probably because we had gone through a lot as kids that we were so emotionally uh like awake, I guess,
Yeah.
as
There's
like
like
a
an
9 year
intelligence,
old.
isn't
Or
there?
yeah, exactly, you
Yeah.
know. And so we were so aware of that, that we were able to tap into that through music, and music was also the thing that got us through that. And we were able to perform with that kind of that ability. And I used to think of it like as like a superpower, you know. It was like a superpower
Yeah.
that I had that not many people had. And it was like it came from something really shitty, but at the other side came this like this gift that we were suddenly given. Um And yeah, I think it was like I had all these moments like that, like discovering songwriting and artists, and then like singer songwriters and pop music like Eminem and Michael Jackson, and just gradually being like, oh my god, like this is what I want to do. And but then I started like songwriting, and I was like terrible. So it's like so hard to get good at
Yeah.
songwriting. And it's like you're like, how the hell do you get good at songwriting? You know, you like it's like such a confusing thing that is so difficult to become good at, because it's so like you can't hold on to it. Like it is like it's
Yeah.
like the way that you think about it, like how do people like write songs? It's like you're the same when you start writing songs. You're like, how do people write songs? How do you like? It sounds like such a dumb thing. How do you just write songs? Well, you just get some chords and some words, but it's like, but how you really like write, like get a song, a new song, something like beautiful and powerful, and like, and I'm still chasing that every day. I'm still chasing that
I mean,
song
I
that
think
like
you're onto I think you're getting there. I
I'm
mean,
getting there, you
you're
know. I
getting
think
there.
I'm getting there, and and that's what I love. That's what I think will make me do this forever. Is that like I'm always chasing the song that I probably never ever managed to write, but I'm just always chasing it, and it's such a special feeling. But yeah, I think it was a big mix of things that sort of like got me so like involved in it and into it, and I think I remember there was a really like I already had wanted to do it for a long time, and I was completely pursuing it, but I was definitely doubting myself, and I was feeling like I had maybe lost that thing because I haven't performed in so long. It had been a really long time since I'd performed even classical music. I was in college, but it was all technical stuff and exams and all the stuff that I hated.
Yeah.
And I wasn't performing, and then I gradually was like, wow, maybe I've just like now lost that thing. Like and I went to LA and I did this camp, and I'd like completely lost my voice. And I there was like a showcase at the camp that you had to sort of like it was like a music, it was like a weird kind of thing. But basically we
Really
had like
selling this.
song yeah, we had this like songwriter class, and we were sort of like learning kind of the A's and B's of songwriting, you know, and how to structure stuff. And I'd already been songwriting a while before this, so I kind of, you know, I knew I wasn't really there to learn, but I was more there to kind of meet people. Um, and that's kind of what I was like kind of told to go there for. Like I had a friend who was, she was working on it, and she was like, "Look, if you come out, you'll meet good people, and it'll be worth it for that reason, you know." But there's like a lot of young people, a lot of older people, great teachers, mentors. Um, and the songwriting class had this random like performance at like 3 p.m. in like a school hall kind of thing, like in like the brightest daylight at like in like Los Angeles sun, you know. And I was like, I had like lost my voice from like straining it, and from like the jet lag and everything. And there was all these like kids who like were amazing songwriters, like 10 years old, 12 years old, going up and like showing their songs. And I was just like, oh, I gotta go up there like and sing my song that I wrote. I was just like, oh, I can barely sing and everything. I was like, this is just not gonna go well. So I went up anyway, and I was just like, fuck's sake, this is a terrible idea. Um, and I sang this song that I wrote, and I was just like, all I remember was like I just kept my head down, and they like put a microphone to my guitar and a mic to my mouth. And I was like, so I started singing this song, and I was like, and like the first chorus ended, and I still had my head down, and the two like songwriting teachers who are now like really good friends of mine, um, they I just heard one girl, her name was Sam, and I remember hearing her like as the first chorus ended, she was like, I think she was just like, damn, or she was like, wow. And I was like, fuck, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Just
That's the what you want.
so I kept going, kept going, kept going. The song ended, and I kind of like looked up, and like everyone just like stood up like applauding, and they were all like
Yes.
bawling, crying, you know, like the whole room. It was like maybe like I don't know, like 150 people, I don't know. And they were every single person was like bawling their eyes out, like, and the whole front row was like kids on bean bags and stuff, and like they were all like in like the kids, they were like 6, 7, 8, they're all like bawling and crying. I was like, what are these kids crying? And I didn't know what to do because it was a bit awkward. Like it was like so extreme, like that it was awkward because I just had to kind of like walk off back into the audience and I was like,
Thank you,
thank you.
everyone.
And like I kind of felt like walking and like this woman was like, go, this woman who was like bawling and crying, she came up to me, she was like, go hug the kids. And I was like, what? And I like looked over and they're like bawling their eyes out. And I go over and I was like, it's okay, it's okay. Don't worry. And they're like, it's so sad, it's so sad. And they were like crying and everything. And I was like, it's fine, it's fine. And then like I got up and I kind of like walked through and everyone's like giving me a hug and they were like in tears. And a few of my friends that I made on the camp were like out in the hallway, down the end of the hallway, and they were like crying like so much that they had to leave because they were like hyperventilating. And like a few people came up to me and they were like, hey, like, can we go for like a walk and chat? Like, I really just want to like talk to you about like how you did that and like how you once reached your emotions in you without like getting so like without like they were so shocked that I could I don't know be so emotional on stage but without be like crying
Being physical,
myself and
yeah,
stuff like
yeah.
that. And like and then I had all these big guys coming up and being like, what are you doing? Like, you need to come to LA, like, and stay here and write. Like, this is what, like, and then the artists and the songwriters, like, messaged me afterwards and they were like, they were just like, sending me these, like, amazing messages of, like, this is what you were, like, born to do. Like, stuff that I'm like I don't even want to say it because it's like embarrassing if I say like it'll make me sound like, but it's like it was just like this crazy experience where I was like, oh, holy shit, maybe I still got it. You
Maybe
know,
there's something here. I've
there
got
was something
something.
here, you know, and then I had these amazing talks with all like people that I, you know, like that I really admired, and then like friends and stuff, and yeah, it was just like a crazy
Yeah.
experience, and I was finally kind of like it kind of like restored my belief in myself. I was like, okay, no, I still
Yeah.
have that thing that I was like given by whatever reason I can do this, um, and I have to use it because millions of people would, you know, kill for the opportunity to be able to sing or to be able to move people in that way. And I don't know why I can do it, but I can. So it's sort of like it's like a obligation to use it and to do something good with it.
Right. That's powerful. Like,
Crazy, isn't it? It's just such
yeah.
a like doesn't even sound like a real story. Like yeah, I
I
had
could
one of like
see
my
that on
best
your face
friends.
though. I could see you on your face
Yeah,
like when you were telling the story, just like
it was
I
like
can't
it's
I
intense.
can't believe
Like
I'm
I
actually
would,
telling this like in the way that yeah, I was
yeah,
like, well, you're clearly doing the what you're put on this planet to do.
yeah, I'm mad. It's mad. Like in those moments, you're like you're like, whoa, okay, what's going on?
What I
Crazy.
want to know is what happened to the song.
Oh, I never did anything with that song. Like I had loads of people afterwards like ask me for the song, um, and being like, hey, like, can we listen? Do you have like a recording of it and stuff like that? Um, but it was never anything that like anyone on the team or anything like that afterwards when I sort of
Yeah.
that anyone was really like interested in or whatever. But I don't know if I really showed them properly. I never really recorded it properly either. And yeah, I don't know. I think it was like I feel like it was just written for that moment,
Yeah.
and that moment was the right time, and then that was sort of it. Like and maybe one day it'll make it onto an album. I don't know, but yeah, very strange, very
Well, I know if I
strange.
like walking past people and they're like crying their eyes out, like, are you listening to
Yeah, are you listening? It was actually called Blanket of Bullets. That was the name of the song.
Oof,
Um, so it was like
it even
it's
sounds
so
powerful.
yeah, it sounds powerful, doesn't it? Blanket of Bullets, crazy. I wonder if I even remember if I remember like any of it. Like I
I
don't
don't, because
know.
I've already had my scheduled cry today. So if you're about to start singing,
No,
please.
I'm not gonna bust out any songs on here.
Thank you. One of the questions is going to ask, because obviously with everything now like taken off, like I'm so rightly so, because these songs are just they are phenomenal. And one of the questions was obviously next year you're selling out dates left, right, and center all over the country. I was about to say, like, what can people expect from one of your shows?
Um,
But I feel like you've just explained that, like, just
yeah,
been
no,
whacked in the
it's
face with
like,
an onion.
yeah. Um, I think just a good time, just some laughs, some crying, some emotions, some real, just like a real time. I really like to
Yeah,
give people like a real time, not like a. I really want to, yeah, make each show like feel special and important, and sort of not just do like the same thing every night. I
yeah.
want to try and like connect really with the people who are there, and yeah, I'm very excited for that tour. It's going to be wild.
I'm really excited because I imagine, obviously, especially when I listen to your songs, it's going to be one of those, whether it's a tour or obviously albums, obviously, there are no doubt on their way.
Yeah,
It's that kind of feeling that regardless of where you are, whether you're watching this in an arena or whether you're listening to this like on the tube or wherever you might, there's going to be like that level of like intimacy. And I really hear that like in your voice, that it kind of, in a weird, messed up way, like it reminds me of those songs that I've heard millions of times before, even though I'm listening to it for the first time, because it feels so like, I don't want to sound so cheesy, but like it makes me feel like of home, and like we were saying earlier, like I'm not on my own when I am feeling these kind of emotions, which is really,
yeah,
again, it's a really obviously powerful thing to be able to do.
yeah. I don't know, like, don't know what it is, but like, yeah, it's weird. I don't really try to do anything
Yeah,
specific when I write songs either. Like, I just like write things that I like, that I feel sound good and feel real. But and like I just record them in here, like on this microphone right here, and it's like
wow,
it's a weird thing that you can create something that creates a feeling for people, and creating it can be such a fragmented process, and then
yeah,
it becomes this whole thing, and makes people feel a certain way, and I guess that's all tied together with like a voice. I think your voice and the energy that you portray through it, I think maybe like is what people are really like connect to or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I think also because I think people feel like very much like the way that I am through my music, maybe. They really like feel like I deliver it maybe like with sort of my you can sense my personality in the way
yeah.
that I sing. I don't know, and maybe
But like there's a level of honesty there as well, and like vulnerability that you can really hear in your
yeah,
songs that make them so relatable, and instantly you're like, yeah, he gets it. I feel like you're kind of the voice for a lot of people who are going through these kind of, well, you said at the start, like whether it's a loss, a breakup, friendship, whatever it might be, you seem to be soundtracking those kind of periods of time for them.
yeah, yeah. It's mad. I don't know. Don't know why. Don't know why.
I can
Don't know
genuinely
why
see the
people like
confusion
it,
on your
but
face, like I don't know how I'm doing this.
yeah, it is like it's a strange thing to do, and to think that you do soundtrack
Yeah,
moments of people's life, um, and it's it's so special when you meet people who are like you genuinely like meet someone in real life who because when you have like a fan base online, it's like you don't really like you get like hundreds of DMs every day, and you're just like I don't know what any of this means, to be honest, and it's all like the same. Eventually it blurs into one, and you're just like what does you know Jenny1249XX, who is that, and what does it
yeah,
mean what they're saying? And it's not until you meet them in real life and they like hold your hand and they're like, I worked as a nurse in the NHS, and every single day I drove home from work like bawling my eyes out to all of your songs for like 2 years straight. And I'm like, what the fuck? How have I never met you? Do you know what I mean? It's like
yeah.
it's like what? Like, what do you mean? Like, I don't even have any friends. Like, what are you doing listening to my song? Like, how is this person I don't even know listening to my songs? it's just so surreal, and you're like, that's actually happening. Like she's
Yeah.
genuinely like the way that I listen to someone else's music, and I'm like, this is so, and it's just like, what? I just don't get it. But it's that's what's special.
Well, I feel like it's about to happen all over again with I'll Be Waiting, which
Yeah,
I made the mistake of listening to right before I jumped on this recording. And I didn't know whether to cry or I didn't know what to do. It made me feel like I was in a music video. It was very
nice.
cinematic. And I was just like, it was raining. I was looking out the window. I was like, this is beautiful.
Thank you.
So
I'm glad you like it.
it's out now. Well, it will
It's
be,
out.
honestly. When
Yeah,
this goes out, it'll be out. It's out now.
yeah. It is. It is out. It is out now, and
Go and listen to
you can very much listen to it now. You know, and if you're listening to the podcast, you know, you can after this, you can go put your headphones in, and if it's raining, or if you're on a bus, or you just, you know, you just want to catch a, what do they call it now? There's like a name for it all. It's like a main character energy. Isn't that the thing that people
That's the
say?
one.
Try to
Yeah.
get that main character energy. Just pop on. I'll be waiting, and just vibe out. You know, just feel main character.
So the new single, I'll Be Waiting, is out now. If you want to feel like a main character, listen to it today.
Yeah, that'll be the Spotify ad for the single.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I'll do it for free because I'm such a
Thank
fan.
you, thank you,
But
appreciate it.
tell me about it. Like, what was the inspiration behind this one? Because literally, I feel like every single one of your songs, there's like I feel like there should be like a Netflix like show behind it.
Yeah. Oh, where to start with this one? Um, I basically obviously don't have any, well, not obviously, but I basically don't have any relationship with my dad. And growing up, he was a terrible person for many reasons. But the there were many moments where I was a kid and I was waiting for him to show up and he didn't show up. Um, but I also, because he was a terrible person, I didn't want him to show up.
Yeah.
Like, like my head didn't want him to show up, but my heart wanted him to show up because I still wanted to know that he cared and tried and wanted to be my dad, you know? And I think, you know, went through a lot of things for a long time. But growing up, I feel like I I just, there were many moments when I was a kid when I tried to sort of defend him, and I sort of
Yeah.
tried, and I wanted to show up, and like things that I was like ashamed of doing after, as I was growing up, I was like ashamed that I tried to defend him, and that I tried
Yeah.
to, like, whether even if it was just for like 2 minutes, or, you know, but there were these moments where I just wanted him to be the dad that I thought he was, you know. Um and it's, you spend a lot of time, like, yeah, growing up and feeling sort of, yeah, like shame for having felt that way. And so when I started writing this song, at first I had no idea what I was writing about. Like, and that happens a lot. Like, I'm
Yeah.
just like, I don't know what the song is about. Like at first, you know, it's like I'm on the way to the gym, and I was just actually driving to the gym, and I was like, if you ever want to fall in love, if you ever want to, I don't know what it was. Um, and then um, I actually was on Zoom on a session where I was writing with another girl, and we sort of just, I was like, I wrote this thing earlier. I hate Zoom sessions and stuff, so I was like, let me just like whip out something that I've already kind of done, like an idea that I started, and then we worked a bit on it, and then wrote like the first verse and stuff, and then I think the Zoom ended, and I like finished the song myself. And it was kind of in that process of like looking at what I had written, looking at what we had written together, and then looking at what I was then writing again. And I was like realizing what I was writing about
That made sense.
and what it like meant to me. It's sometimes like sometimes it's like I'm like a listener. I'm like writing the song, and then I'm like listening, and I'm like attaching my.
Yeah.
It's like it's strange. Like sometimes that happens, and that's kind of what happened. And it was like I was really like, oh wow, this is crazy that I wrote this. Like, and I don't even remember what the rest of my story is, but that was yeah, that was essentially like the process, and basically a song that like for me was like coming to terms with like that it was okay to be a shit. It was okay like to feel those things, like that I shouldn't have felt ashamed. That it's still okay
Yeah.
to feel ashamed, but that I shouldn't have felt ashamed for like still like defending my dad or wanting him to show up, or feeling all those things that like any kid would just feel like,
Yeah.
and basically a song that sort of was written from the perspective of that person, to give that person, to show how much like those feelings are valid, you know,
Yeah.
like I'm not still waiting, you know, and I wasn't for a long time, and I, you know, never wanted any relationship with him, and but there was once a kid who did, and who was, and then who felt guilty for it, and I wanted to be like, you don't have to feel guilty for it, it's fine, like you're okay, you can feel that way, you were allowed. And like whether it's a fucking multiverse, metaverse, intertwined galaxies where that version of me still exists, like, and he can somehow hear the song and be like, it's all good, bro, you know. And I think just saying that to myself was like enough to validate those feelings and not have to feel like ashamed about it anymore, you know.
Do you know what? Obviously I don't know obviously your history, your past, but there's certain elements of what you've just said I really relate to. So now knowing that, listening to that song, I feel like they don't lie, the goosebumps. But even hearing that, I'm like, again, I think this has been a running theme throughout this kind of recording, is like you're making people feel heard. And I think even being able to express that, and even whether it is in a different version of you in a different universe, kind of giving you that heads up just to be, or that nod to be like, yeah, you're going to be okay, I think is a very, very powerful position to be in.
Yeah, thank you. I think there's just like, yeah, there's a lot that you can take from music, and like sometimes I don't, you got to explain a lot at the start, because people always ask what your songs are about and when you wrote
Yeah.
them and what you're inspired by. And um but you know, for something like this, it's like I actually had you know, some people could listen to the song and be like, so is he still waiting? And I'm like, it's not the point, you know. The
Yeah.
song isn't about now, and it never was. Well, it was about a different now, you know, and a
Yeah.
different, and written from a different perspective, you know. And I think that has yeah, I think that has a lot of power, because a lot of people will feel like they still deal with feelings that they felt about certain feelings, you know. It's like
Yeah.
there's so many more levels to feelings than just what you feel in the moment. There's like a feeling you feel in the moment about a feeling that you felt once about a feeling that you felt,
Yeah.
you know. Like that's what this song is about,
Sort
which
of
is like,
feeling metaverse then. That was
yeah, it's crazy. Like,
no, it's powerful, and I have nothing but respect for people, especially men, who I get to have these kind of open, vulnerable conversations about. Because I don't think, obviously, we're moving in the right direction, but they are happening few and
yeah,
far between. So I'm so lucky that I get to do this from a point of view, especially when there is music involved, because it does make me feel like, okay, there's other people kind of going through this, and like obviously, I keep saying like soundtracking it, which kind of leads me on to music again being, it's my biggest coping mechanism, whether I'm happy, sad, whatever it might be, there's a song for it or an album. I want to know, because I imagine you like to throw some shapes, what song needs to be playing to get you on the dance floor?
anything Michael Jackson, and I am
Oh,
on the dance floor immediately, because I just grew up on that. Like, I
yeah.
discovered Michael Jackson, and I was just obsessed with his music, and I would just dance every night in my bedroom in front of the mirror, just MJ shaping with a hat on. I had a glove, I had the glove and everything.
Did you?
Like I was just a huge, 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 huge fan of Michael Jackson's music. I think it's some of the greatest music ever made, no doubt about it. It's incredible, you know, and some of the greatest musicians on the world playing on those records, produced by some of the greatest musicians in the world. Um, yeah, just phenomenal stuff, phenomenal stuff. And you get an MJ song on, like I am there, I'm front and center, I'm throwing the biggest shapes.
Like the whole, can you moonwalk?
So I learned when I was a kid, yeah. So like I'd like to say I can still, but I haven't done it in probably like I do it every now and then just for the laugh, like for like 2 seconds, and I'm like, oh. But yeah, I learned it when I was like younger because I was obviously obsessed.
Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to cut that bit. And when I asked the question earlier about what can you expect from the tour, that's where
Moonwalk.
moonwalking.
I'm gonna moonwalk. I should
Just to make
actually
myself
moonwalk
laugh.
on stage. That would be badass. Just a quick moonwalk. Just
Exactly. Who's bad? Cian's bad.
who's bad? Keen's bad. Doing a pretty good. I'm actually doing a pretty good finger moonwalk here.
I can't do that because I've got a weird little finger.
And I'm messing it up now, but I feel like it was pro. If I could get it right on the edge of the screen, no, it's terrible.
Beautiful, beautiful. We'll
Beautiful.
edit it. That's what we can do. We edit that. On the flip side of that, apart from your own songs, what songs make you cry? What pulls the emotion out?
Don't know. I'm trying to think of what like
You can't say Blanket of Bullets.
blanket bullet. I don't. I actually like. I wrote. This is terrible. It's not technically my own song though. So I wrote a song yesterday with one of my favorite artists that I work with, and I was listening to that I think this morning and last night, and that was getting me to tear up. I was like, "Damn, this is good." But that kind of doesn't count because I was part of writing that song, so that's a bit of a cheat. But I think because I was so emotionally attached to it, I was like, "Whew."
That's good. Though.
I think like I don't know. It's just random things. Sometimes like classical music like really gets me, like hits me in the feels because it's so profound.
We had
I think
Sophie
like
Alex on a few weeks ago, and she said exactly the same thing about kind of like the orchestra and like hearing those kind of the individual instruments. For her, that really kind of takes her to a place that she'd never really been before.
Yeah, I just love like I grew up on classical music, so it's so like nostalgic and familial for me. And I actually think Chopin often always makes me cry because it always makes me think about my mom because she grew like when I was growing up, she would just play Chopin all the time at the piano. And so whenever I hear Chopin, I'm just like think of my mom and I get all emotional because I'm like, I love you, mom. Like, so yeah, it's like, yeah, it's weird. It's just kind of random stuff like that that just like means something to me. I think is usually the most impactful. But live music is really I need live music mostly to like cut me. That's the best. Like when I go to a live concert, and that's when I really feel the magic.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I miss live music more than my own family in lockdown. I didn't realize how much I relied on it.
It's so good. It's just the best way of like it's the best type of music. It's way better than just listening to a record. And it's just another thing when you're surrounded by people. I went to see Coldplay, and I just was like, oh my god, this is the best thing of all time. Legendary.
It just takes you away, doesn't it, for like that like hour or so. You are not thinking about anything else other than literally what's in front of you, the music, and just it's just a good time.
Oh, it's such a good time. It's so special. It's just like I could like when I was at Coldplay, I was like, I can't believe it. I was like, oh my god, like what is happening? You're just like, holy shit, like epic, like we're like this is crazy. We're all here, just vibing.
The wristbands flashing away,
unbelievable feeling. Live music it's a game changer. And like I've been to little gigs of small artists that have made me tear up, and I just love that, love the real stuff.
No, I love it. But speaking of live gigs, I was very fortunate. I don't know how I did it, but I got Glastonbury tickets.
Ooh, that's big. I've still never
Yeah.
been, and I went to school right next to it for like 2 years.
Oh, not even through the fence.
Yeah, I know. Still never been. It's tragic. Hopefully, I'll play there someday, maybe if I'm
Maybe
cool enough.
next year. Could I expect to see?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what the. I feel like you got to be either really cool and indie,
Yeah.
um, which apparently I'm not. Apparently they love to be like, yeah, Cian makes pop music. I'm like, do I though? I don't really know. It's just like songs, it's like very
Yeah.
songwritery songs, but they're like, it's pop music. I'm like, so is indie music. It's just like
Yeah.
if anything, it's more pop music, but what they came up with another cool name for it. So it's like, whatever. So either you have to be indie and cool, or I think you just have to be like a superstar. Um, so either I become a superstar, which hopefully will happen, or I go indie and cool, which I could probably just change my clothes and then pretend like I'm indie and cool.
It's like
I
that
could just
goth
change the
phase everyone
aesthetic.
had in secondary
Yeah.
school. Just do that
It's
now.
really weird actually, because a lot of the whole like indie thing as well is like, uh, which is the strange thing about it is like a lot of it is just based on like fashion, or like
Yeah.
or like they record their vocal twice and then they pan it left and right. And you're like, it's still fucking pop songs. Like it's the same thing. If anything, it's more poppy than like ballads and stuff. Like I think
Yeah.
ballads are like the least pop of pop music. They're like classical songs. They're just like big, ballady, beautiful songs, and then you have like indie music with like bass lines and everything. And I'm like, well, that's way more pop. Like, who's making these?
It's supposed
Who's
to be
calling
dance
these
music.
decisions? Yeah. So it really confuses me, and I think there should be a consensus to like change what they like. I don't know, but hey, I don't make the rules, so
Well, that was a really nice way to say I want to play at Glastonbury, but I can't tell you anything yet. So I'm going to make sure I see you in the field next
yes,
year.
I'll be like
I'm taking
on
that.
drugs. Like that's the other way I could somehow end up there if I just decided to become a huge druggie and like. Is that what people do at festivals? I'm not like a big festival goer, and I like obviously
No,
I've
I'm
never took
30
drugs,
now.
so I feel like that's like people go just whenever I see footage of festivals, people are just like off their faces on something, having like the best time of their lives, and I'm like, I think I'd rather just have a shower, to be honest. I would love,
Cures everything, a good shower.
would love to go to Glastonbury, and would definitely love to play Glastonbury. So hey, you never know.
We're manifesting it right here, right
We
now.
are main stage, Glastonbury, 2025, should we say 26 maybe?
Hopefully, I'll be there with a waffle sign saying, "You
Yeah,
waffled with me once."
that's it. That's it. We will be there.
Honestly, you
I'll
have
eat
been
some
an
waffles on stage in
I'll just
commemoration.
launch them at the
Just
stage.
launch
Maybe
them.
that's this is
Hey!
me. You have
Amazing.
been an absolute dream to waffle with. Best of luck with I'll Be Waiting and the tour.
Very much.
And I can't wait till you've become that superstar that you keep saying. Start
Just
believing in yourself. You got it.
waffles on stage. Well, waffles on the main stage at Glastonbury. Let's go.